Good morning, everyone. This is Christopher D. Grife with our two new co-chairs next to us. One next to me, one on the screen. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
And we're ready
everyone.
to start. So, hope everyone had a wonderful, a love, and a peaceful summer. So, before we start and introduce two our young ladies, age 25. I know they'll kill me later, but it's okay because one can kill me, the other one will have to catch me. Uh, Before we start anything, there are housekeeping rules that we still need to follow. It doesn't matter where we are because there are some new changes in the Ring Central as well as Zoom. Number one, as a reminder for all computer people, first, everyone must be on mute so we do not have echoes or interruptions because if we have too many microphones on, it will cause an echo and it will hurt someone's ears. Rose Sal should be definitely not on mute because she's the other half, and Deborah Grant is the other half. As a lot of people are still coming on or joining in right now, just to remind everyone that as I pointed here near the mouse, this is the microphone that should be on mute right now. A lot of you might see that it's not on mute because that means the microphone is on. Camera is available on your right, and it will start from there. Now, I do want to remind everyone also, this is recorded at all times in our meetings, so therefore, this is like your recording minutes. It's your choice if you want to keep your camera on or off. But we do make sure if anyone misses the meeting, they can see this again on the advisory council's website, or it could be emailed to that person, but it is available also on the website by the end of the business day or by the next day. So remind you also there is a change. If you look in your base bar area, it's a little different than I have. You do have an area that I don't maybe have, but it is called click on react. It it is part of you raising your hand or put a smiley face, heart, a little party thing saying woohoo, like you're celebrating stuff. But it does give you a chance to raise your hands there as well. The hand thing has been moved to over here. So please make sure that you get used to the new area bars. The camera and microphone are still the same. And just to remind you, the panel area number is different because the numbers can say, yes, I have 11. Technically, that will be 12 because Debbie's with me. So the number is not correct. And remind you, there might be more than one person on those cameras that there might be more attendance. So please ignore that number because some of you are always asking how many we have. The number is never correct. So I'm going to remind you on that. Now, the hand is to remind you that when I said earlier, please make sure you're raising hands so we can try to keep the meeting in order, fashionably, and courtesy. You can always put your questions on the chat, and between Rose or Debbie, they will answer your questions the best they can do, or we'll forward to that person. So this is the one piece of the chat. Now for the phone people, if we have phone people, reminding you if you ever have to use a phone for accessibility or non-accessibility. Main thing is for mute and unmute, and I have to move this over because no one can see it. Star six is to mute and to unmute. So the only time, unless you have a question, I will ask you to please star six yourself if you're on the phone. Now, if you have a question, if you're on that phone and you have a question, you can raise your hand on star nine. Again, star nine. That means I will see that hand up. I see all the hands that come up, especially this one here. So we ask you, please, guys, let's try to keep the peace and love because today is a beautiful day. Well, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And no, I'm not acting like Fred Rogers. I am just trying to keep the positive theme on because we need to keep strong today. It's a nice day out. And I know I'm getting some people laughing. It's a good moment. It's a good thing. But I remind people on the phone as well as on the camera, please must be muted so we don't have an echo. Now, I do want to welcome our two co-chairs from the provider, Rose Sal. Rose, say hello.
Good morning, everyone.
And our family one, co-chair, Miss Deborah Greif.
Morning, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to you our new Family Provider Information Committee. Welcome. So at this time, I give the co-chairs their their shoes and their dancing shoes on. Hit it.
Later again.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Again, welcome. This is our Family and Provider Information Committee. So this committee, it's replacing our CCO committees, just in case if everyone is not clear about it. We changes the name of the committee to ensure that we have more participation from providers, right? We know our three CCOs usually come on the call, but we also want to get a lot more providers involved as well. So we felt like it would be more, it beneficial if we can, have family and provider and, have this forum to communicate to you what is going on in the OPWDD world right now. So this committee is going to be run every other Wednesdays, every second Wednesday of the month, just like we did before. We are going to be meeting from 10 to 12. What we would like to see in this committee, it's more like a conversation, right? We also want to bring on guest speakers to this committee as well, to the issues that you guys, providers are having, CCOs are having, and family members. So we would like to encourage you, if you have, any topics that you would like to see that we discuss in this committee, you can feel free to put them in the chat. And we will work together on bringing a guest speaker to address those topics that you may have, right? I have a few topics myself that I will be, calling out to see if if it's okay with everyone on the call, to see if if those topics are of interest to any of you that are on the call today. And I think moving forward, we really have to collaborate. This is not just one provider's meeting, this is all of our providers. So we encourage you that if you know any other providers that you think that can benefit from this committee, please encourage them to attend. So this is how we really going to be sharing information across providers as well as our family members that are on the call as well, and our CCOs. So we will be asking CCOs to do presentation, giving them plenty amount of time to to organize and arrange just calendar schedule. We'll also will share the calendar schedule with you once we have the topics that we are going to be discussing here in this particular committee. So Deborah Greif and I, we're going to be, doing this together. On a monthly, we're going to start on a monthly basis just to kind of see, what the topics are, how people feel. And if we have to change it every other month, then we'll move on and do so. But as of right now, starting this month and the next few months, we are going to be meeting, on a monthly basis. Okay. So in terms of topics, from on my end, what I thought about that we can discuss in terms of providers. I know it's been a while since we talk, having a guest speaker come maybe talk about the funder. I think some providers might be interested in learning more about the funder. We haven't had any training on like housing or ISS. It's been a long time. So those are the suggestions that I have, in mind. I know we did one before last year on Medicaid, and that Medicaid is always a good training. It's always good because the rules are always changing. There is always updated information, and it's so much information when we're talking about Medicaid. We can never have enough on the providers level, right? So I think this is always a great training to bring forth for family member as well as our providers. I also wanted to highlight something with investigation training. A lot of providers are asking for, investigative training when they have incident, right? They have their own staff doing the investigation, and that training doesn't come too often. I think it's once a year. We're probably going to ask us if we can have that training a little bit more often than once a year, maybe twice, so we can capture. Also, this field is changing. The staff turnover, it's ongoing. So we want to make sure that as people come in on board, they are receiving the proper training that they need as well. Maybe also inviting somebody from the Justice Center. I think we've done this about a few years ago, bringing someone from the Justice Center to educate the providers on, how to do investigation and how to write an incident report. What are the key questions that we need to be following up on when we are doing an incident or an investigation? So those are some of the topics that I have in mind that I think that'll be relevant to, the providers. And for families, I'm also thinking, about transition, right? That's a really big topic that, we can get someone from the school to talk about, transition. What is that like? When do you start, filling out application, getting your children on board to apply, for services? So we can also have someone come, in the future, on this call, to come in as well and be part of this forum.
Rose, Debbie's right next to her.
All right, those are
Sure.
great.
Yeah.
So now I will give you, as Deborah Bethlehem, as you all know, I am a parent. You also know I'm the chair of the Brooklyn Family Court Service Advisory Council, as well as Brooklyn representative statewide advisory council. Before I talk about what I would like to see as a family, I want to give a couple of very important updates. As you know, as of past Friday, our commissioner, Ms. Dr. Kasner, resigned by request from the governor, Hochul. All we know right now is that Roger Bearden is the acting commissioner. I received this information because I know it was sent out on the LPWDD page, but being on the all statewide members given the information by our chairperson, Mrs. Margaret Puddington. When we know more of what's going on, we will let everybody know. Because one of the biggest things the statewide advisory councils are working on is update reimbursement policies so that it's statewide. The other announcement I want to make is that if this one's good news, for Social Security in 2022, Social Security income benefits will increase by 5.9%. It's very important for every provider on this video, and if you know anyone else, you need to make sure you calculate that correctly so that your families, especially individuals, doesn't lose any benefits. It can happen because if one goes up but the other one doesn't make the allowance. And why am I also bringing that up? Is because there's another important issue that we must have regular speakers on, and something I've been saying for many, many years.
Deb?
Yes, dear.
Deb, I'm sorry, we're getting in the chat and there's a lot of feedback. The video is not clear. And Susan Jennings is also saying she cannot hear this. It's very hard to hear. I'm not sure.
I'm talking as loud as I can.
I don't think it's you. I think it's something with the audio. We're getting a lot of feedback because I'm getting it as well.
Well, then I hope everybody else besides you and myself are on mute.
Yeah.
It's very important. We also, okay, because I cannot scream. I will not scream because that'll hurt everybody's ears. All right, I'm going to repeat what I said. Social Security benefits are going up 5.9%. Now, what I've said is something very important that everyone needs to be aware of. Right now, our individuals who are getting less than $1,500 a month will get covered their Medicare Part A and B covered by New York State. Now, if the individual makes $1 more than their parent, because our children are because they're disabled, and this is a Social Security law that's been in effect since 1939. It originally was called the Widows and Orphan Act, but now it is for adult children who are disabled before the age of 22. You must make sure that if you put them into work programs, that they do not make more money than you do. That will severely affect their Medicaid, because technically you're supposed to be under $900 to get full Medicaid benefits. And do not put them in a spend down unless they've made more money than mom and dad. So I would like to also in the future, I would like to have benefit specialists. I would also like to have the Social Security to come speak, as well as ARC. Why? ARC, known as ARC or in New York City, AHRC is part of a nationwide campaign to update all Social Security income laws. Because for years, one event act that we all did many years, if the child's father or parent, most of the time, I'm not saying it's always, was the father, The individual with developmental disability did qualify, but their income didn't because they were collecting under their parents, the late parents' Social Security. So they couldn't get the Medicaid waiver. It wasn't until a actual hearing that and a lawsuit that then made it, and that's why you all of a sudden saw so many individuals who before were not getting any services finally getting. Well, we don't want this current generations to suffer the same thing. So we will be asking ARC to have somebody come to speak to explain. I would also like, as I agree with Rose, we need the Medicaid because they can explain where how our children can keep their Medicaid because as you know, 99.75% of services are paid by Medicaid waiver. But that's because the child is not making more money than mom or dad. So that's extremely important. We need to all advocate and work together. We also have to make sure that our family support services stay intact. And in reference with education, I would like to also see certain advocates like Chris Treba. Why? Because a lot of times families do not understand the right way to go over to the CP, the Committee for Preschool, Committee for School Education, or help the children transition out of the school. And I can tell you personally, if it wasn't for Mr. Trieber, I would have had the most hardest time. And the training he gave me really helped not just only my child, but others that I was advocating for. Also, we need to find out what services are working and not for our individuals still living at home. And we also are having, of course, issues with residential too, especially the housing. And I agree with Rose, we need to figure out ways to get an increase in more housing and not just the traditional that you get a group home. Maybe we could get into co-ops. We can have condos, or many families have actually figured ways to leave the house or apartment, which was a condo or a co-op or even a rental, to their child who's living there, and a family member or others are caring for them. So these are some of the issues and ideas. I do agree with I about having speakers from ISS. Also, we should ask Sia Johnson and Karen McLean, who do the ISS grants in Brooklyn, to speak to us. And we also should also talk with IEC because we do need to advocate very strong for our services. The advisory council, as you know, normally we don't meet with the provider council, but due to the fact of COVID, which I, as the chair in Brooklyn, made the decision with my exec board to make, as well as I spoke with Joyce Lemon, but I first spoke with my families, and we agreed to make it simpler for all of us. We've agreed to meet, and that's why it was changed from the last. Usually, the advisory council met on the third Tuesday. The Brooklyn Duty Council met on the fourth Monday. But we decided to move to the third Wednesday, fourth Wednesday, except for holiday. And it's been working. And for now, we will be meeting virtually for this whole fiscal year. If any changes eventually come, we will let everybody know. But the advisory council will be still continuing to meet with the Brooklyn DD Council on a regular basis.
Joint meeting.
We're going to do our joint meeting together. So if anybody has any issues or problems or needs help, please email us at the advisory council. Email me at the advisory council, which I hope everyone has it. It's
I will put it on the
Chris
chat.
will put it on the chat, all right? Because I will answer you that way.
One second. Rose, can you put your email in also if people have any ideas for the committee also?
Sure. Putting
So
it
we,
in now.
yeah, thank you. As Rose is putting in her email as well. So therefore, if you have any of those questions for ideas for a topic, please let Rose and Debbie know.
And there's just one more comment, it's very, to me, it's very important for everyone to know. First of all, I want to say the advisory council, as well as the provider DD council, we advise OPWDD what help and services we need and what the families need in our county of Kings/Brooklyn. The other important thing is to everyone know that OPWDD does not control Social Security. They do not control Medicaid and Medicare either. That is why many times families don't understand that. I agree we also need to have front door explained to families as well as providers. Too many times I've been stopped, even before the pandemic, on buses, trains. Why my child's disabled? Why am I not being picked up immediately for OPWDD? And the best one is Social Security law, Social Security SSI. And I answer them this way. One, there is a strict guideline set by the federal government. New York, then the states can amend or make it easier or harder. It's up to them. The other issue I've brought up is that, and it's really important for everyone to know, that Medicaid has their own guidelines, and same for SSI. If your child is under the age of 18 and mom or dad or you both parents are working, no, that's why we fought to get the Medicaid waiver. So we will ask to have people come to speak that can explain to us. So right now, also, do you want an announcement that there's not transition?
No. That's
okay.
Let's
But we will also ask. I know that all the DVROs have a transition coordinator. Then it's their coordinator that explains how services for our population to go from high school to the program. So we will ask and speak to the leadership at the Brooklyn DDRO to ask when we can have our transition coordinator to come to speak or meet with us, because I think that would be a very important item, because involved with Social Security, or when you can get benefits or help, and also the Medicaid waiver, as well as the front door being explained to everyone, will make things a lot easier for us in the long run. So these are issues that are also on my side with my family. Rose, are you there? Wait, unmute yourself, Rose.
Rose, you're
supposed to be on mute. You're the co-chair.
No, I was getting a lot of feedback. I'm sorry, I had to mute myself.
No
Oh no,
problem.
Rose, I found who that was. Somebody did not mute it. That's what it's called. You see,
Okay,
two people can be unmuted. It just can't be three.
got it.
Before we continue, Rose, just some people came in late. As everyone's been coming in now, can you please put your name, your organization in the chat, please, so identify yourselves.
And mute.
And definitely, please, as a reminder, some of you came in late, please keep your mute on. And I remind you, if you have a question, please raise your hand. That is located in your bar in the other area that you can raise your hand. Rose, Debbie?
Well, Rose, so we both brought up the issues we have.
Yep. No, thank you. That's all great. So I know I'm trying to see who we have on the line. Do we have any provider agency on the line? I know we have CCOs represented CDNY. Do we have any provider agency on the line?
Yes, we do.
I can definitely see a young lady not far from my left. My left is Care Designs here.
Yes, but the agency,
Yeah.
let's see, Doris Khan is here from NICED.
Mhm.
Sandy Naper, I think, is here for both. She is also a member of the advisory, and she does work for ADAPT. Stephen Williams is from Access Dispatch. That's accessibility dispatch. I'm trying to figure out who else. If
Okay,
Fran,
I know Fran. I see we have two people from City Access.
which is good. But we are trying to now. What I would appreciate, something that Rose brought up, and I want to bring this up. I would love to see the reason why we expanded this. It's so important that we have. I mean, I'm loving that we love when the CCOs are here. You're great. We want you to stay always. But you see, Rose and I are from the old school in one way. We were so used to the Medicaid Service Coordination known as MSCs. So yes, the MSCs, a lot of them would come from different agencies. Well, we want to see your actual care coordinators try to come. We also want to see agencies that do other services for an OPWD population, family support services. They have reimbursement and different services from OPWDD. So we're asking everyone to please spread the word out for us. Because if we all don't work together, because one big help also when MSCs would come, they would know which agencies, because they worked with the agency, so they would know what agency blue was offering, and it maybe would help the individuals under with the red agency and help them back and forth. And I'm staying with that because I don't want no one saying that I favored one agency over another. What we want to see is that a sharing of the minds. We have to make sure we've been through a really horrible thing with COVID-19. It affected our population so badly. And with all the current changes, the upheavals, we need to have as many different service providers, whether you do whether you're a CCO or a medical or other
Anything.
general OPWD services. We need everybody here
But
because we have to work together as a team.
Mhm.
And also, please invite the parents and encourage them,
individual.
and also individuals who can do it. This. But the reason why I want to see more parents is you have to remember something. And I'm going to talk now quickly as a parent. You would like me to, as a parent, you would like us to be informed. You want us to understand what services are. You want us to be realistic about our children. That means we need to have information shared and we need to be encouraged when we show up and praise us, not make us going to pain. We need more support. Being a parent of a child with developmental disabilities is far more difficult emotionally and mentally than you realize. I don't know how many of my families, the mothers, have developed cancer, parents have divorced. I'm not even going to go to all the issues. But and yes, we parents can be difficult, but we have our children who can be 50 years old, but act like a 5-year old. You need to understand the issues we have gone through with the attack from the family and society. It does make us act differently, but we need to be supported and helped. So please encourage and invite them to come. If they're not understanding of what's going on, if they don't understand the services really, because I can tell you for a fact, not 90% of families don't know the difference between respite or ResHab or ComHab. And we need to have everybody educated so that we get the right help and services. Half the parents don't even know how to update their child's life plan or service plans. So please encourage them to come. Rose?
Yeah, but before we do that, we have a question from Dolores. I'm just going to say this the easy way. Dolores, we're going to say that for announcement time because that will be a little easier, and I agree with you on that one.
What?
No, no, don't just. Rose, back to you.
Okay, so
Okay, I just wanted everybody should put their email address in. They're
I
putting
know.
in their name.
I know.
Okay.
You were
Yeah.
one of the first. Thank you, Doris. I appreciate it.
Yes.
thanks, Doris. So yeah, I just wanted to add real quick. So for the providers, I know we have a couple on the on call right now. Is there any of the topics that I mentioned earlier, that Debbie mentioned earlier, that you would like for us to add for next month meeting? Because I think, if you guys participate in this conversation, then we'll get more people to come in, right? Because you can go back and share to your agency,
Right.
create buy-in to get more people to come to the meeting. So if there's a topic, or not even the one I suggested or Debbie suggested, any other topics that you may have that you think is worth a conversation, that'll be great. Please put it in the chat so we can create the calendar for our meeting for the next few months.
So does anybody here have any
I'm checking.
ideas?
Okay, we got. Go ahead. Care design, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. It's Mariela Sanchez from Care Design New York. I think one topic that very much interests the Brooklyn region for care managers is how long it takes for the DDRO to approve services. It's more than 6 weeks sometimes that go by, and that is one thing that it would help. And then sometimes we've received responses to add things to life plans before they are approved, and that it's extra work that the care manager has to do, and it's longer wait for the families to begin a service. I think that will be beneficial. I know you said, Rose, the front door, maybe something with the front door, and that would help. The maybe when we are amending those waivers, whoever's already approved, how long it's taking, like for an increase in hour, like the hours for ComHab that we're getting approval, it's so small that providers sometimes don't want to hire a staff because it's costly for them to hire someone to provide only this little amount of units. And I think that's something that it's a disadvantage to the families, and is a frustration that we have as care managers when we're submitting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good one. Yeah.
That's very good and very important. One problem also is that what you're saying is right. How long it takes to approve it. I can tell you honestly, even before we had care managers, it always was long to take because, it's not just what Brooklyn says. It all has to be approved by it's not just Ultimate Manhattan, what Albany says. And the feds say too. The federal. A lot of times families think the minute their child shows developmental ability that everything's going to go quick. Nope, you really have to prove it because the one problem these 2 or 3, and I'm just saying this, and it needs to be explained even further. From ages 1 to 8, all children, even if you could tell the kid qualified, down to whatever, they say they're provisional. But they after 8, then when it's proven, they have to be recertified because from 1 birth to 8 is when no matter what disability or not, you grow the fastest and make the most changes. I understand why agencies don't always want to hire ComHabs because at times the ComHabs, the workers have been babysitters, not doing the ComHab work. It's a catch-22. Why do I say that? I've had families who I've seen what they were supposed to, kept the same goals for years and years. And this kid's not going to learn anything on that. You're using those workers for something you shouldn't. And that's a problem because we need to re-educate not just the providers, but the families too. What are real true life goals for someone with a developmental disability? And that also includes whether the child also has physical limitations. They could need to be in a walker wheelchair. And not everybody accepts that. And we also need to figure out how to get the families to be more realistic about what their child's really going to be capable of learning. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm going to tell you, I've seen this ever since he's little. No, I'm not talking about my child. I'm talking about other families I've seen.
Not me.
It's very upsetting. I've also seen respite workers doing what a ComHab worker should be doing. That is a problem, and it's been that way for many years.
Yeah, and I think that on the providers level, I think sometimes we swap staff, right? We have a lot of high staff turnover, and sometimes, if I'm only going to hire ComHab for 3 hours and I need additional staffing elsewhere, I'm going to move people around. That's what you have to do as a provider in order to continue to run programs, right? So I'm speaking on the program level. So yes, we do swap the staffing. That I might have ComHab doing as well respite and ComHab, right, at the same time. So it's just because the hours, like Mariela said, are very little, people are not going to come to work just for 3 hours only, right? It costs them more to get on this MTA than to get a paycheck. So that does happen. But I do want to talk about the service hours. If we can get someone from DDRO to come in, I don't know if we can get somebody for next month. If we can, that'll be great, to talk about waiver services and the time frame that it takes for the service amendment for the approval to come to. That's something, I guess we can add that to be our next meeting for next month.
Rose, this is Chris. I think I have an idea to solve some of the problems because I can feel it from this vibes here. maybe we should invite the new deputy director,
Nina,
Nina. She is now the new deputy director. Maybe this would be a good opportunity to get
Okay,
her to come,
sure.
because, and the topic should be saying, what is the role of the DDRO and OPWDD? Because normally the advisory council always asks them to come every 1 year to do an update. This will be a good opportunity for the information providers getting this information, because things have changed
Mm-hmm.
and we need to know this. And maybe if we get Nita or Delia Tucker or Lucy, get someone to be here next month, that's like telling them. And I think, Rose, we can do a combined invite,
Sure.
combined, and then
Okay.
yeah,
we'll say to be determined of the speaker for next month.
and it
Okay.
is, and Rose, I just want to tell you that on the parent side, it's frustrating. And a lot of times parents don't understand that that the staff you switched around had probably worked all day at a day have and is now going out to the family. And I've tried to explain this to the families, and I'm tired of the families being I understand they need them here by a certain time, but at the same time they need to work with both. And there are times they're not bending the families. And I'm not. And before everyone jumps on me from the family, and let me explain something. If your child's been on a wait list for like 5, 6 months, which can happen and does happen, and they can get someone, but they're from a day have, but they're in a different borough, and you want them at a certain time to come, but how do you get them over there quickly? You can't always. You don't know if the person has a car or is able to drive, or and this is a big problem we've had for many years. So we need to work. Sometimes I would personally like to see the ComHab put into a day have situation, except for family.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Gotta remind some people who are putting their microphones on, guys, as you're coming in. The reason why I'm muting you, because we have to keep it on mute, Rose. That's why we're getting a lot of backfeed. And I'm going to remind people, the only two people supposed to keep their microphones on at this time is Rose Sal, who's the other co-chair, and Deborah Brent. I already mute them all.
All right.
So if you see me all of a sudden saying the host is muting you, the reason is we have to keep it very clear, because we don't know if someone has a hearing issue or that needs to hear. So let's be fair to everyone.
Thank you.
I apologize for the interruption. Deborah, please continue.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that what I would hope for many times. One, I would like to see the day have day longer, because it's even shorter hours than when the children went to school. And I would like to see if they need certain services to be placed in somehow. The only time I agree about come have stuff being done at home is for at home things. Like if you want the child able to independently learn how to even wash 1 or 2 dishes that they use, if they also know how to put their own clothes away, if possible, learn how to do laundry if possible. But if you see your child is not and there's a problem, then we also need to have families, understand what the role of each of the workers that come to your home or at the day have do, because the lack of understanding of what each thing is, each service is, or what's required has made it very rough. We also have to explain to families that you can't always get a one-on-one at a site because of lack of staff. So these are things. And before I would say, I'm very parent friendly, but I'm also realistic. Rose? What do you think? What you said
On your provider.
on your provider end?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the family, it depends on depending on the staff. It depending on the staff that's working with that family member, depending on the provider agency. It's a case by case situation. I can't put everyone in one basket, because it is a case by case situation, right? I know here at BCS we do not use our day have staff to do ComHab, because they already have a long hours. They start at 8:30 and they end at 4:30, right? So there is it's already a full-time job for them. But they have other provider who swap staff because, that's what they can, they're able to do that because their staff might be part-time or they don't have their full part-time hours for this week. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. I just feel like our staff just have to be trained before they go out in the community to work, with the individuals and the family members. And I think that's why those, having those sessions here and bringing people on board to get training, whether it's not just the care manager, it's also our ComHub staff, it's also our respite staff. It's for us to encourage more people to come and receive the information and get training, both from provider level.
I agree, Rose, because I would like to see, I want to see everybody educated on what actual the services are and why your child may need it.
Before we continue, we have some questions that came into the chat, and just to let you know, Rose, we are receiving a lot more people coming in. Also, Susan, who's been here early this morning, I know there's a main question she's mentioning. I agree about the teaching families that the roles of staff, what they can and cannot do. The services they are providing will be very helpful,
especially for newly enrolled families. Okay, I would like to say one thing very important.
And then Rose, you can back it up.
I'm not only saying new families being enrolled. I'm seeing families who have been getting ComHab, then known as ResHab, and respite in home for years. They really don't. The amount of fights I've gotten in with certain families who demanded that I put the staff in place. Nope. But I've also explained to these families there are what a ComHab worker does and what a respite worker does is two different jobs. And it's not just the new families. It's families who have been getting these services for many years. So, Rose, this is some of the things I'm saying.
Rose, what's your input
What's your
on that?
input?
No, I mean, I think we've already discussed it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, saying the same thing. I do feel like, staff providers do train their staff. Again, I can't speak for every provider on the line. I can only speak for my provider. But I do think I know for BCS in ComHub, sometimes the supervisor will go to the home with the staff to kind of do the introduction and let them know, what the job entail and what the ComHub is expected to do. However, I think when we have a meeting, that there's a life plan in place, right, to discuss those goals, with the family members. And I think that's where also family members get an opportunity to learn the responsibilities of the ComHub and what they're going, what services they're going to be provide, to that, to the individuals.
Yeah. Rose, just to let you know, we also been
joined by,
and he's playing with his camera right now, which we can all see his face.
Yeah, I can see you doing this, Cliff Davies.
But you're on mute, so
you're muted. Okay, we're gonna mute you.
No, I can't.
Okay, I want to say I'm very glad that Cliff Davies.
Hold on.
And his staff from the ACS, they're in the Development Disability Unit, which I bet not many people know. ACS has this, and it's really important.
So, Cliff, do you have any ideas you want to put in?
My Cliff, you know what goes on with development.
And Cara?
We're just now.
Cliff, I can see your head. Just
your
talk.
Head.
Just talk.
I want to make sure that we're messing with the camera because we have sound problems and we've had some picture problems. So
no, we can see you.
We hear you and see you.
Just sit down and talk.
You got it. We're fine. Tell us what. We're all waiting impatiently.
Rose, is something wrong with your mic?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Nice and clear.
Especially 5800 Rose Salles definitely can hear you.
Okay, that's great. What was the question?
Please explain what your unit at ACS does and the help. And plus, remember, you used to work in a provider agency. We're not saying name, but you do understand the issues and problems parents as well as professionals have.
Sure. So our unit is a pretty small unit within New York City's child welfare system. And our goal is to make sure that the youngsters that are in the care and custody of the Commissioner of Social Services, meaning foster care, get the same quality of life as if they were residing at home with mom or dad. So what does that entail? That entails a lot. So we have contracted vendors that are what are called preventive agencies, and we want to work with them to make sure that they are supporting their families wherever their family has a confirmed or suspected intellectual or developmental disability. We have foster care agencies, and those are agencies that actually provide the care to youngsters who are not living with family. So the foster care is their primary caretaker. We want to make sure that they are meeting the needs of the young men and women that are in their care. We also want to help them make sure that the youngsters get the services that they require, as well as long-term planning. So foster care is all about having a family court involvement and meeting and achieving family court goals and closing a family court case. And it's what's known as achieving permanency. So we help our foster care agencies. We provide training, we provide technical assistance, case consultation, guidance around planning so that the youngsters can reach permanency. And that permanency can be returning home to family, but we want to make sure that they return home in a safe and supported way. It can be adoption for children who are freed for adoption. It can be aging out of foster care towards a life of independence. It could be aging out of foster care into an OPWDD residence. So what each child's plan is very dependent upon, it's very individualized. We provide technical assistance and training to our child protective staff, which is the biggest part of our agency and all of our borough offices across the city. And wherever possible, we help develop policy for city council, for the mayor's office, for our own commissioner here. And we also try to engage with our staff and hopefully educate them, bring in experts in the field. At our next workshop, we're gonna be inviting Christopher and Deborah to speak on the role of the Family Support Services Advisory Council, so that our system is more aware of what's available to our community partners and our families. So that's a little bit about what we do. And you're hearing me, but you're seeing Carly, and Carly is—
That's okay.
Hi, Carly.
You know what? It's preferable, to be honest. And couldn't do any of this without her. So she is so skilled, and she's not looking for a job. She's very happily working for the city of New York. So
Thank you,
that's
Carly. And I'll thank you too, Cliff.
oh.
Does anyone have any questions for Cliff at this time also?
Sure.
Rose? Rose, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hi,
don't
Cliff.
scare me like that, Rose.
Hi, Cliff. Thank you for the update. I mean, I think for OPWD services, we definitely need a lot more services, to support, our families, especially crisis, respite. I think that's something that's a need that we don't have enough of, right? When our family are in crisis, there's not enough places to send them. And also, when you say crisis, is immediate support, right? That's my understanding of crisis. And a lot of time we have it, this 15 pages application that we need to complete. We don't have time to fill out a 15 pages application when our families are in crisis to assist them. So I think, more support in that area to assist family members that are in crisis. I think it's, especially with children, it's a need. I just got involved with the eShy project helping out with housing for OPWDD, and I realized that we have a lot more people with intellectual disability and different disabilities that are in the shelter system, right? That we're not tapping into, and they're not being transferred to OPWDD services quickly enough. They're aging out in the shelter system. So it's like we have all this, support that's out there that we have a whole group of people that's not being tapped into. And when I started with this eShy housing project, I'm like, how am I going to find individual with intellectual disability out of the shelter system? Because that's one of the criteria. They have to have MH and also have a history of homelessness. And we are having a challenge to get people placed, right? And we have this housing, we need 17 beds. It's having such a challenge to get people placed because they've been in the shelter system for so long and they're not getting the right services, right? Some of them are not even diagnosed properly, and getting them back to go back and find that diagnosis to be able to get the documentation behind it. It's a challenge. So I think in terms of crisis, I feel like our approach need to be differently when we work with people with disabilities, to really assist them and their family as quickly and expeditiously as we can, to get them into services.
Rose, I want to inform you as well as Cliff stated, one of the big problems now we've been having for years now is that when the children, we'll just say that they lived in New York City, they went to New York City DOE, even if they were placed in a private school by the Committee of Special Education, everybody needs to, anybody who's here and who's a care manager or design, please get the paperwork of all those children, not by the last school record, get their school records from when they first started. If they were in committee of preschool, if they had early intervention, and especially anything when they started at age 5 to go into regular school, because after a while, the New York City Department of Education has been destroying records. And I will tell you for a fact, I see you, Cliff, I'll let you a second. They also and I know this for a fact because I've seen it, and I was a parent member for many years. The last IEP that's usually written, they fudge their scores. That is why you need to get the earliest time when you see a word intellectual, or if it's before a certain time, and whether I use the wrong name or not, this is because if you saw them saying there was mental retardation, there was Down syndrome, any form of a developmental disability was seen in the early stages, that is the records that actually gets them picked up by OPWD even faster than you realize. So please, everyone, take this down. Make sure you tell the families you have to get all of the school records, the earliest ones now, because those are the ones that get them in. It also helps them to get Social Security benefits, not the high school one. It has to show the earliest. That helps more than you realize. I see Cliff raising his hand.
Yeah, Cliff.
Go ahead, Cliff.
Because I think Rose made some comments, and it was very, very important information that she was sharing. And I wanted to kind of put my little 2 cents in. Yes, there are both children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in shelters across the city. Our unit, one of the things that we do, and many of them, not all, but many have child welfare cases or some form of child welfare involvement, either present or past. One of the things that our unit does, and we've been doing a lot more recently and hopefully more in the future, is we have a number of different programs targeting, right, we're New York City Children's Services. But what we've been doing a lot lately is targeting and providing supports to parents, right? So we want to do evaluations of parents. We have parenting programs. There's lots of programs for parents of children with developmental disabilities, less so for parents who have a developmental disability or even a suspicion. So the City of New York, our unit, has parent evaluation programs. Again, it's not a whole lot of money in our contract, but it is set up to support, to evaluate parents who have some form of child welfare involvement where there's a suspicion of a developmental disability to help get those families into service. The same is true for parents. For parents where there is some form of child welfare involvement, we have 2 different special needs parenting programs, again, to help teach parents greater independent living skills, greater parenting skills, and hopefully our agencies not only help with the training piece, but as well as long-term OPWDD eligibility and enrollment. And there are barriers to that, like I believe Debbie was saying, getting records.
And Rose.
And
Yeah,
Rose,
Rose and I are both saying what you're saying. But the problem is not everybody realizes that if you don't get the children early records, it will hurt them in the long run.
Correct.
It'll be harder.
It'll be harder. I know a couple of adults that I got that were after the age of way past 22, and I was able to just in time get their records for the families. And we went to the earliest, and when OPW saw it, they said they're being picked up immediately. That's a very important thing. So we need to also inform the families they need to do this. The other issue, what you're saying with New York City. First of all, we have the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and Development Disability Services are under them. But the other thing is that the mayor's office for persons with disabilities needs to be informed, as well as the mayor's office of community affairs, so that because then we can get all of their commissioners that work in different parts of services for New York City, and that includes homeless, shelter as homeless. We need to let them all know, as well as we also have to work with New York City's adult protective services, because many of our families now who have senior parents, they get afraid, oh my God, they're coming in. Well, actually, I'm gonna tell you something. APS many times helps the adult get more, the mother or the father get the true help they need so they can help their child. So you know what? We need to also do workshops to explain what the different services that New York City can give and why not to be afraid all the time. And so that you can understand sometimes if you have a crisis, you need help.
And
Yeah,
Cliff,
go ahead, Rose, because then I'm going to read the chats because I got a lot of chats.
Yeah, I saw a question in the chat. Like, but how do we refer those clients to you, those family members to you?
Yeah, that was one of the chat questions.
Yes.
great question. I think I said it a little bit, but I guess I got to be clear. We are very concerned and involved with children who live in shelters, their families that live in shelters, but not all of them have child welfare involved.
Okay, you just said that.
So the important part is if they have an open ACS case, if they have what's known as an ACS preventive partner or case, it's a preventive agency or a preventive case planner working with the child or family, we're going to become involved. We're going to become, we're going to be known to, or they're going to reach out to us. Our child protective staff would reach out to us. Our preventive agencies would reach out to us. If the youngster's in foster care, then hopefully the foster care agency would reach out to us on behalf of the family. However, and here's an unfortunate reality, is a lot of times we can surround a family, surround an individual, be it a child who's aging out, or be it an adult where there is a clear need for assistance, maybe OPWDD services, but it is a voluntary system of service. So a lot of times people do choose to be unsupported. They choose a shelter over being enrolled in services. And that is a very large reality, is that a lot of times our parents who may need the help that we can identify, but if they don't want it, if they don't identify as having a problem, or having a service need, or just doesn't want an outsider involved in their life. That's a real big barrier, right? OPWDD respects a person's choice, even if the choice is to not engage in services. So we try to build trust, and we try to, tear down walls, and we try to get people to see that ACS is not, what we're known for as being maybe the baby snatchers. We're not the baby snatchers. The city of New York would much rather support a family in their community than have a child enter care. If you don't know, the number, the census of children in foster care is right now around 7,000 children in New York City. When I came to ACS 13 plus years ago, that number was right around 20,000. So the city has made a tremendous shift away from removals and children being, of course, we still get involved, of course, because safety is job one, but the move is really towards home and community support and strengthening families. That's where our dollars go.
Cliff, there is a question also on the chat, and this is related to Rose and Debbie as well. So this is a three-way question. It's also for Carly too. Rose, you there?
She's there.
Yeah, I can hear you, Chris.
Okay, just making sure. Olga mentioned this question, and I think this is important too, because it's a three-way issue, because there is a lot of crisis and respite issues for not just adults but children as well, and it's been brought up to my chat like in different directions.
That's true.
Cliff, you want to answer, or you want the ladies to go first?
Let me go. One problem
Well,
a lot of our families don't
Debbie,
have,
parent, and then
which we've been advocating. A lot of times when our families try to get help for their children or for themselves, a lot of the psychologists or psychiatric community does not completely understand the difference between the developmental disability and mental health. And that's why the START program has been in existence. Unfortunately, it is expensive, but they do come into the home for the reason is they want to see what sets off the child and how parent and child can work better together. We also need to push that New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene has to work more closely with the Brooklyn DDRO, the Brooklyn DD Council, and of course, which they try to ignore, the advisory councils for each of the counties, because we have been telling them of the problems and they're of last, and funding, they give last resort. I understand what everyone's saying, but also we have to change society. I mean, any time now, wow, kid has autism. Oh, they can't wait till they can be there. No, I'm not putting autism down, but you still have intellectual, yes, cerebral palsy. I'm not going to name all the developments.
the main word, disability.
We need society to change their attitude toward people who have developmental disabilities. And that is a big problem. They don't understand. They don't want to understand. And it's very unfair. It also hurts, actually, the families also have children with autism. Because sometimes the most unrealistic TV shows are on TV with them. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding. That's, Rose, do you have anything to say?
Provider,
My dear?
Rose, we can hear you.
No, I mean, does anyone else, I think I've shared enough. Does anyone else on the call have any question for Cliff or anything else they would like to add on or share?
Cliff, you want to, but also, does Cliff want to answer that question also? Because it is.
Well, yeah.
You know,
Definitely OPWDD services that I wish, well, from our system, getting people engaged and knowledgeable about OPWDD, helping to guide families in that direction if they're from a community that, is typically unserved or underserved, or where families come from a culture where they don't ask for help. We want people to unlearn that. We want people to not get to the point where they drop their child off in a hospital emergency room and then run away. And that happens every week, several times. So, and what I think is most alarming about that type of situation, and what we have noticed, and Carly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're seeing that from parents who have OPWDD services. Parents are choosing to abandon their child in a hospital setting, and choosing that over the OPWDD services that are engaged in their family. I think our families really need to become more informed about who their care coordinators are and what is the role of the care coordinator, and to push for what their family needs. I don't think it happens nearly enough. I'm blown away. I do see parents who are unsupported, and I do see people getting to a level where they don't know what else to do and they don't know where else to turn. And so they, out of emergency, out of frustration, they do something that would be considered an abandonment situation. But I'm really blown away when the family themselves is engaged in services and still chooses to abandon their child. So it really does to the greater need for access to things like planned respite, emergency respite, residential services, you know, a real, almost like a system change, because what is going on now, from my perspective, you know, doesn't work, and it results in families being in crisis. And we are unfortunately have to manage a lot of crisis situations, and that shouldn't be when a family is already enrolled in OPWD services. Shouldn't.
Cliff, Care Design wants to answer that question.
Sure.
Mel, you want to answer that? Because I saw your hand up.
Yeah. In reference to that, Cliff, you bring an area that unfortunately it happens a lot. And sometimes it's not really that families are not informed of who the care manager is and their role. Sometimes it is that the individual has certain behaviors that every time they are referred to a provider with a vacancy, the provider says, we don't have the right staffing. This is not the right place. So a lot of those individuals, it's over a year for us to find them an appropriate placement. Although OPWD is identifying that maybe, not to highlight, but maybe YI has a vacancy. And when they review the application and they see the behaviors, those providers feel like they don't have the right support to provide to that individual. And I wouldn't say precisely that the families are abandoning their loved one is as their last resort. And I know some of them have CSIDD already. We have HRC, a crisis unit that works really well in Brooklyn in engaging. And some of them have actually made that recommendations to family to take them to the hospital, because that would put them at a higher priority for their application.
Olga has a question.
Olga, you have a question also?
A statement.
Olga, you need to unmute. Someone has their hand up over there, and it's up, but I don't see the mute button being released. There we go.
Olga?
She's on mute now.
Can I just say, let me just say one quick thing real fast. Marilis, right? It was a pleasure speaking to you. I respect your information and your perspective. You're in the field with our families. I get that. But one thing I would always suggest, and I come from you know, being a service coordinator and every possible position you could have in OPWDD, as well as early childhood education. One thing I would never suggest any of your clients do is take a child and, well, bringing them to an emergency room because the child is having an episode. And then they're medically cleared for release. And they don't have a medical reason to be there. I would never suggest, maybe abandoning is the wrong word, but using an emergency room as a respite. There are, our emergency rooms nowadays in New York City have a lot of different illnesses going on and a lot of need for space. And the last thing our families don't do it out of malice. They don't do it other than that they really need a break. But I think it's important for them to understand the ramifications of dropping a teen off in a hospital or not picking a child up when they're medically cleared. That is, it says I'm back, I'm muted, I'm not muted. I don't know if I'm muted. But
I can hear you, yeah. Mhm.
Cliff, we can hear you. New Jersey can hear
Yes,
you.
Cliff, we hear you. But
I
I'm
don't
going for 1 minute, Cliff. I have to intercede.
want anybody to have to face,
Olga, where are you?
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm gonna let Olga go ahead of me, and then
Debbie,
I have something very important to say.
Go ahead, Olga, if I can hear you.
We would rather you call us or the child protective staff. We would.
Olga,
Olga, we don't hear you, so your volume must be not up.
Oh, Olga.
Olga,
Olga is also from Care Design,
Awesome.
and I don't hear anything out of her.
okay,
Olga, can you please type into the chat, and then we'll read your question from there,
or statement,
Or
and
your-
your statement.
or a statement, because
All right.
I'm gonna move on.
All right, I'm interceding for
Then
one
it'll be
thing.
Debbie, then it'll be Rose.
All right, I'm interceding for this reason, and I don't feel guilty saying this, but when I have families with the parent is 85 years old, and we're talking about their child who's 65 and still has enough strength to break their parent's back, to throw them against the wall. Some of them have even attempted to molest or rape them. I've had them almost kill the parents. Their APS comes in to try to separate, and there's not enough appropriate placement for individuals that have very serious challenging behavior. We do not have enough funding for the START program that could assist. And the wait list is horrible. And I've actually had to protect the parents from a child who's ready to beat them up. And I stopped the child. And I'm talking about an adult child. So you have to remember that we care for our children and all from their birth to their death. I will tell them if there's no way and no agency, and you keep going to those housing committee, those meetings, and they say, no, we can't handle it, and the parent's life is at stake, I'm sorry. I want them to take that adult child, go to the emergency room, and let them also treat the parents for the injuries they sustain. And then I tell the parents, have yourself transferred to another hospital, leave that child there. Because LPWDD has tried very hard, and there are agencies that do not follow through. We're talking about adult children. And truthfully, the parent, normally we think, okay, when my mom was aging, I took care of mama. But most of our children cannot take care of us. It is not something I really relish. I feel horrible. It is not something I like to do, but for the safety of everyone, I have suggested that in emergency. And OPWDD has heard me say that. And I've said it to commissioners.
City and state,
City and state.
for the record.
I want that on record. I would prefer that not to ever be. But if your life's in danger, you have to separate people in the best way possible.
Hold on a second.
I don't want them left in shelter. I don't want them left in the street. At least in the emergency room, there is some form of way of a staff member or staff people that can handle them better than the shelter or the police or the street. Okay?
Debbie, I think you make an excellent point. You make a number of excellent points. I'm talking about, and I'm certainly not talking about adult children. My agency is New York City Children's
I
Services.
understand that.
And that applies to children prior to age 18. Right? We're talking about children. That
Okay, can you please in the future tell, I know your ACS and I know the age up to which you're talking to, but a lot of the care design, the kids on the others, what they've actually had to do for the adult, for the children, I tell the families, if they have to, in emergency, leave them there. Then tell ACS, because sometimes that speeds up getting help in there because they're little ones and minors. Okay, there's actually, wait, I want to finish one thing. It's easier to get a child with mental health to be placed in a residential psychiatric setting, but not for our children.
Yeah.
That's a scary thing. Okay?
Yes, but here's the issue with that. A child who has a psychiatric condition, there really isn't anything like OPWDD housing. It's generally based what's called treatment, and treatment is temporary, right? So if somebody has a psychiatric condition, they'll treat that child, maybe provide medication management, and then you gotta go, right? OPWDD housing is permanent, and that's why it's such a valuable commodity. The idea that parents, regardless, an 85-year-old parent of a 55-year-old son with an intellectual disability, the idea that of dropping a young person off shows to me a system that's broken, right? That's not how parents work. Taxpayers who have a need for a government service should force on a government service. It's sign of a broken system. I remember in 1993 going up to Albany to Governor Pataki to address New York's residential wait list, which was larger than 20,000 people, just New York City alone. And from that came New York State Cares and a lot of residential development. Right
I
now,
remember that.
of course, I'm not that old. I did that when I was a toddler. But parents have always been the driving force in developmental disability services. And the state of New York, for our informed people and parents and professionals on this call, you should know that the state has been getting out of the developmental disabilities service system for a very long time. State ops services don't really exist anymore. Residential programs that used to be a really needed support, not for everybody, but for those who really needed a higher level of care. There aren't children's residential programs like there used to be. There aren't developmental centers like they used to be. Not to say that those are great models for people to live in, but they filled a need. And now what are our families doing when there's nobody to fill that need? So these are great discussions, and we need to have those discussions. You lost your commissioner, right? Their last day was Friday.
Yeah, I know, and we know why we lost our commissioner.
Right.
But I'm not going to go in on this because you see, I want to also say, Olga, I know you were supporting Mary Ellis, and the thing is that there's not enough because if you're not wrong, there's not enough services. There's more need than services, and residential, because everyone's afraid of being institutionalized. Except I will say this: what happened at Willowbrook was horrible. But the problem we have is that there are times certain class people must be institutionalized because it's actually their least restricted environment. They need to be regimented. With that, sorry, Chris. Rose, go ahead,
This-
'cause we gotta
no,
move on.
no. This is great. This is a great conversation. I think that's what we want, right? And I think,
Yes.
Cliff, we'll be inviting you back, maybe hopefully sometime in February, to have another conversation like this. This is what this committee is about, is sharing information. But I do wanted to add that, before we move on to the next agenda item, that with OPWDD services, it is such a well-needed services, but we know our system is broken. We are working with a broken system. When I look at just the pay for the work that our staff do, right, compared to what the New York City case managers might make, our staff are called direct support professional, and they're getting minimum wage, right? They do better working at McDonald's than they do working in this field. So we have to look at our system. So yeah, we don't have enough staff to support our clients, right? We don't have enough staffing because we don't pay them well. I have staff living telling me I do better of going to McDonald's than get this job. Now we're taking care of people, right? Why can't our level
I'll
of
go to
service
Subway's
be,
instead, Rose, not McDonald's.
well, McDonald's, Subways, they're
No,
all doing
no,
better than we are
any
right now.
of the fast food providers. The problem is Rose, they don't, the elected officials, unless they're actual parent of a child or a family member, they don't want to understand. They don't
Yeah.
understand the amount of money
Well,
is
we do
used.
have some.
We have some, we're getting more.
Yeah,
So
we need to
one
get a lot more
only-
for the work that. Let me just finish. We need to
Go
get
ahead.
what my point is. We need to get a lot more for the work that our staff are doing. I
Correct.
see my frontline supervisor. I see the work that my staff are doing in the field, in the community with our individuals. They don't pay them enough, and that's a system issue. And I think that's something we to work on. New York City, of course, their care manager, the case manager, I'm sure make a whole lot more than our staffing is making. So again, yeah, we don't have enough staffing to support any of our individuals. So I think that's something that we've been working on, and I think it's an ongoing issue that we all need to continue to address.
I
So
agree.
thank you. This was a fruitful, conversation, a robust conversation, and I think those are the kind of conversation we need to keep, having, discussion about, right? And including our
Yeah.
family and educating our providers and our families and our individuals. So, Cliff, I'll be reaching out to you maybe in February. We could schedule something, if you're available.
If he's not, we'll steal Carly because she's more. I heard she's funner than him now.
Okay, Carly, we want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, we can get them both. But Rose, one thing we both need to say to everybody. We both have to, and everyone here on this call, you all have elected officials. You have to let them know
Hold on.
what the problems are.
Rose, I think we have an elected official on.
We do.
Well, somebody's saying hi, and who's NG? Please identify yourself.
He's typing message.
Hi, no, this is Nadine Gale from Assemblywoman Latrice Walker's office. I'm not the elected. I'm just.
Well, you're
from her-
representative.
But you are her staff that represents her. Okay.
I am her staff. I'm also a former ACS person, so I'm very familiar with all of your everything that's being stated here. So feel free to contact our office if you guys would like to do a deeper dive into this conversation. So we represent the area of Brownsville, Brooklyn, Ocean Hill. So we have, we're very familiar with a lot of the issues that the parents are facing. I think someone even mentioned something about the mental health component.
I did.
I have a constituent right now who I think she has some delays, as well as one of her children, or it's her grandchild, has delays as well. And I don't know where he falls on the spectrum of autism, but I don't think she fully comprehends where he is. And it's been a huge struggle for me for the last couple of months trying to help her. I've connected her with some of my colleagues that are attorneys. It's just been a lot. So I do understand that you guys do a lot of, and as I said, because I worked with ACS, I know that you guys do a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I just put something for you on your chat. Make sure you have that.
We gave you the website for the advisory council.
It does give you
We also will tell you that, and I'm telling you as chair of the advisory, but also member of the statewide, we have tried very hard to get more funding for our staff, the staff that works with their children. We try to improve how our children are taught in school, but we also have a lot of parents and grandparents who need the extra help, but it's called let's hide it from them. And this is a big problem. So we need to bring all of this out into the open. And I appreciate you are on the phone. And yes, we would love to continue this discussion at a time where it's mutually agreed free for all of us. Because honestly, I know what the families are going through. I'm personally been going through similar, but I'm used to handling things. But the problem we have is that we've had some elected officials who think government they don't need the help of the services. There are other states that have taken away adult day have residential and other things. So everyone needs to be careful and see what's going on across the whole United States.
But don't jump too quick.
Don't jump too quick, but continue to work with us. And please use our website and contact us when you need help.
And that website is also linked to the Brooklyn DD Council. So just putting that for the record, Rose can vouch with me as the co-chair of this committee, as well as Deborah's the co-chair. They can both vouch that I do keep the website up to date. Even Cliff and Carney and Care Design, as well as Doris, can vouch with me. I always keep it up to date.
Yeah, we do everything we can to help the families get whatever help. But we also, not just families, we help the providers. We help the elected officials know where to look. And that's why we have that advisory council website, because our role was to be one role of the advisory council. We were told we had to do outreach. So now that we have a computer technology, we know that the elected officials have our website, and they could, because we can link you can link right through to the OPWD
And
pages,
ACS is linked.
APS, as well as mental health for the city and state. So we're linked to everything.
But does anyone else have a question?
And thank you again for coming on.
Oh, thank you. This is great. This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to let you know, as vice chair of the Brooklyn DD Council, and Rose is the co-chair, and Deborah, both co-chairs for this subcommittee. As the vice chair of the DD Council, all subcommittees, including general meetings, including advisory and DD, are also on that website. And it does have the schedules, service openings, and I did mention 90% of our agencies in or out are there, especially ACS's new updated book, thanks to Carly who sent me the email. So it's been on the website, and I mentioned it to her, but Cliff is always delayed responding me back. So I'm picking on him right now. You know I got you, so don't worry. But no, as I said this again, I will mention more in my report later on as vice chair and give you guys an update that's coming up. And I'll say maybe the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, but thank you.
One more thing that Carly's going to be sending out. So every quarter, the ACS Developmental Disabilities Unit holds what's called our DD Champions work group. And a lot of it involves all of our stakeholders here in child welfare, from child protection to our contracted agencies, foster care, et cetera, our legal services, et cetera, education support, lots and lots of, we're a large agency. So we try to bring in guest speakers, knowledgeable. So our next work group is October 20th, and we're bringing in speakers from NYU Langone, Regional Center for Autism Spectrum Disorder. They're going to be doing a presentation on behavior management in the community, right?
And the home.
And in the home.
Say it again, Carly. I didn't hear you.
In the home.
Managing challenging behaviors in the home and in the community.
Sure. And
Thank you.
We're also going to have another presenter basically on, well, it's more of a foster care issue about special and exceptional rates for children who are in foster care, but that's not necessarily a community issue. And then we're going to also have on the list of speakers, Chris and Debbie talking about the role of the Brooklyn Family Support Services Advisory Council, how they help families, and how the council across the city supports the families.
And state.
But we want to make sure that everybody knows that you can certainly sign up, and Carly will be sending out, she can send it to Christopher, and Christopher can distribute it, or if she figures out how to.
I will be distributing that out, because once you send it to me, I will put it out as of Friday, but it will go out on an email, but it will be also available on the website. So it'll be easier and quicker.
And in the chat, I put the ACS Developmental Disabilities Unit general email email address if there are questions or concerns regarding the family, regarding a case. Again, we really work with children who have some form of child welfare involvement. So if a family is experiencing some involvement with ACS or has a child welfare case or something along those lines, or you might have concerns that there may be a child welfare case. You have our general mailbox. You also have my mailbox, my email address, Carly's email address as well. We're happy to have these discussions and conversations offline as well. So thank you, Chris, for making sure that I attend. I get caught up in a lot of different things. And
Yes. And did you get your did you get to your destination, your train?
we have to talk about the railroad and the train. I don't think you're doing a good enough job for me specifically, and so we're gonna have to work on those train schedules.
Cliff there, let me make this clear for the record. So this is Shields for Rose and a lot of agencies, and I'm glad you brought it up. I don't deal with schedules. I deal with accessibility. So I don't,
Only.
but I can put in the schedules and put a comment in. That's what's called comment and concern. So that is available on the website and on your phone because you can put in a quest. Like example, if say Rose needs a bus to come to Brooklyn, she can put that as an request because there's nothing wrong to put that in. They do respond to those, especially if you see graffiti at your station, you can put a request. Say like Marilyn has a problem at her train station because the station wasn't clean, or Dolores has a problem that the bus stop sign is maybe got broken because it's part MTA part DOT. She can put a request in. So I will mention that more in a little bit. Yeah, I got you good, Cliff.
I was here.
Yeah, I know you're doing that surfing thing. Rose?
Yep. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Cliff and Carly, for being on today. I think it's time, right, Deb, for us to move into
Yes.
announcements.
Yes, it
No,
is.
you forgot someone.
Scott,
Me. I have
Mr. Greif has a report.
I have a
for us.
report from Brooklyn DDRO.
All right, Chris, go ahead.
First of all, I'm going to move my screen, so therefore we finally, and I'm going to shrink everyone for a minute because then I can see myself. Like Rose is here. Hi, Rose. Now, just to remind everyone, the next, Joyce is, as Joyce and as well as Debbie has mentioned already, the joint meetings of both councils will still be in virtual. There is, as due to the fact of COVID still coming back to normal, and Delta still around, we still have to be very cautious still of not having heavy crowds. So we are continuing to do this by virtual. The next meeting is in 2 weeks, October 27th. We do ask people to get on early to make sure your microphones are working. B, your camera, if you're using, is working. 3, we also do remind everyone that, due to the fact that housekeeping stuff has been upgraded to Ring Central Zoom, and I know everyone's getting ready to write in their announcements, which is a good timing. So I'm reminding everyone, next Wednesday, October 27th is the next meeting. Please make sure we try to start the meeting, try to start on time. Like today we did for once, I can say, but we ask you to please try to get on. I'm not going to say what topic it's going to be because we might be just doing like a season finale, what we should be preparing for as 2021 to 2022. So we'll keep you guys up to date as well on that. Joyce has been a little busy, so I am going to remind everyone regarding that. She will, if you have a question or concern, please email me at chrisgreif@yahoo.com if it's a DD Council comment. So I'm going to remind you, because if you're sending service openings, that should be going to the Advisory Council email, because then I will then copy and paste your announcement, your trainings, or an event. If our elected officials have an event, can send it to me. Like I know the library needs to email me their information. on the any events that's coming up. So please make sure you email that to the advisory email as well. Like Rose, you have any new housing updates you need me to bring in, I'll put that also on the website. But I remind you, I need it by no later than this Friday. Every Friday is when I try to do it during the Saturday times because everyone's on the website. Our numbers on our website is very, very, very high. And I mean so high it can blow, but it's not going to blow. So don't worry. And I remind everyone that you can visit our website, which I will put back on the chat again on that. Now, to answer Clifford's question earlier, and I know I said it again and again, please make sure you visit the MTA website, which is newmta.info, and you can go and get the information you want to get on the chat. It's also available also on your phone app, so please do that as well. There are some new information coming out soon regarding the Omni. There are some agencies who did have their name on list today that are participating of the training for families, including your staff. We thank you. Some of you have not. Please, again, please email Sarah Barry on that so you know you're setting up a date for not just your staff, but your families as well to make it easier, because we are trying to remind families the Omni reduced fare is not activated at this time. It's only the full fare. They are located at the stores. Yes, unfortunately, you have to pay the $5 charge to activate it. So if anyone has any questions, can put that on the chat so we can move on to announcements as well. And again, hope to see everyone at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Rose and Debbie.
Yes, well,
So
Rose, do you have announcements, Rose?
I don't have any announcement besides the housing that we do have openings. BCS has a 17 units operating on Coney Island. Is a supportive housing, so it's not really ISS, it's more supportive housing. So the individual have to have a diagnosis of MH and also a history of homelessness. I think we have about 10 beds left. We were able to get 7 individuals into that housing. I think next week is going to be the grand opening for the apartments. I will put it in the chat and also attach the flyer.
Thank you.
Rose, just a message from Community Board 13. Please let them know. Community Board 13 represents Coney Island. They've been, Eddie Mock, who's the district manager. If you can send me the information, I will forward it to him and make sure that, because Community Board 13 did support that.
As well as the chairperson is Lucy Ace.
Lucy Ace is the chairperson of Community Board 13.
It's very important that I'll say this for every agency on, this is my announcement. If you're having an opening or special event, it's wonderful. Please invite the local elected officials, but also invite your district manager and chairperson of the community board that where that event's going to be in. Example, say if it's in Community Board 15, we send it to Community Board 15. If it's in Community Board 5, please send it to them. It's you do need the support of the community board. Because we do, and I can say this as a member of the local community board, we will advocate for you when we know that you need us and are reaching out. So please do that. Thank you.
And Rose, I have an announcement in the end, so I will be make sure everyone gets their announcements first.
Oh, okay.
Anyone has an announcement? So I'm gonna thank you, Dolores. I'm glad someone's raising their hand. You go ahead. You can unmute. I still don't hear you because you didn't unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Doris Kahn, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for New York State Institute on Disabilities. We're a family reimbursement agency. We, many venues have reopened now, and we therefore have tickets available for individuals who are OPWD eligible and live at home. For the individual and their family, they reside in the 5 boroughs. We have tickets for the zoos, we have tickets for the Museum of Natural History, we have tickets for the Intrepid, we have tickets for the New York Botanical Garden and the New York Hall of Science. And we also have Cyclone tickets, Brooklyn Cyclone tickets, and Brooklyn Net tickets. So we also provide transportation. If you're going to any of these venues, we provide transportation to the individual and their family. And to contact Sarah Alton at 718-494-6457. And for transportation, it's John O'Grady at 917-747-9424. I put those numbers in the chat. We also have, now that families are going out more, and individuals they can take music lessons, swimming lessons, karate lessons. We provide reimbursement for those lessons. We are able to provide, and you contact Sarah Alton for that too, for an application to get reimbursed for the service, for the lessons that your child might receive. So things are opening up now, and this is what we provide now for the families.
Doris, Cliff Davis has a question. Cliff, you got to unmute.
Yeah.
You got to give him a second because it does a delay.
I know there's a delay. I don't know why.
No, because he's in a conference room.
I was looking at myself, and it's a delay.
I'll explain it after when Cliff answer his question.
You look amazing in both pictures on my screen. The question, I just wanted you to, if you could put the contact information in the chat.
I did.
You're awesome. And only New York City families?
Yes, only the 5 boroughs. And the individual has to be living at home, not in a day hab or residence, not in a residence, excuse me.
Okay, gotcha.
Family member has to live at home. Right.
The reason is, and why I muted Cliff, because as I said before, if 3 microphones are on, the only one should be on is Rose or me, but some people have been putting on their microphones and needs to raise their hand. The reason is that causes echoing and back feeds, and that's what it's called. It's nothing wrong. I already checked our volumes here, but there are some people do speak lower, louder, or severely loud, which I'm glad with the severely loud, we can all hear you. But the people who talk low, we can't really hear you. So it's not just my side. It could be because, as you know, I said before, Ring Central has been updated. Zoom has been updated. A lot of the things have been updated because of, every year they have to upgrade the systems. So please just make sure that when you do attend any meetings or training, make sure all your systems are up to date, even every month. Does anyone else have an announcement? Rose, everything okay? Because you're off camera.
Christopher, I have an announcement.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Hello, Sandy.
Okay, we're Adapt Community Network is having a great Family Connect Summit this October 20th. It's free. It's open to anyone who's interested in learning about services and support for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're going to be exploring many interesting topics such as benefits entitlements, parent advocacy, understanding challenging behavior in individuals with ASD, promoting regular sleep patterns in individuals with ASD, and effective supervision of your child's support staff, and much, much more. There's going to be captions in Chinese and Spanish for all the presentations, and to register and find out more information about the presentations, go to www.adaptcommunitynetwork.org/summit registration, or if you have problems with registration, email familyconnect@adaptcommunitynetwork.org. Thank you.
Not so fast, Sandy. Dolores Kong has a question. Unmute.
Sandy, what kind of format is that going to be? Parents click on what they want, or is it going to be like what we're doing here. Somebody talks and the next person talks, or parents voice.
Actually, on the day of the event, anybody who registers is going to get a link to all the presentations so they can view them at their leisure.
Oh, okay. Okay, so one more thing, will there be like a link for providers that they could link to see what our services are to provide us?
Well,
We do evaluations or
the only thing that would be available if you would become a sponsor of the event, and that would be, that would be.
So how does one do that? I saw
Okay.
that. So then email Family Connect?
No, I'm Doris. I
Yeah.
will email you the information.
Okay, thank you.
I agree. Let's do that email. Let's send the email. That's why it's called information.
That's better to do it that way.
Yeah. Sandy.
Anything else, Sandy?
Yeah, Sandy, question. This was somebody asked me this question, but I think they have to run to another meeting. After this format is done, are you still continuing doing trainings in virtual or in person?
We're going to be doing virtual.
Thank you. Just because I said to someone it is going to be virtual, but I want to make it clear to heard it from your voice to God's ears.
Right. The summit is virtual, and our future trainings until further notice will be virtual.
Sandy, when you get a chance, Debbie asking you to please text her, please. Respond to your text when you're finished. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Mary, can you do the announcement for Olga? Because I know Olga's having a problem with her microphone. Can you just give me an update on care design? And then Steve Williams, you'll be next. Oh, there you go.
Hi, Christopher. You're asking for an announcement from Care Design?
Yes.
Do you have any?
Do you have any new update? Because I only seen you. I miss you.
Yeah, well,
good to see you guys.
We missed you.
Simple. I'll make it another example. I miss you.
I miss everybody.
I miss. Well, I saw Rose in person, so I
miss.
Well, good to see you guys as well, and see that the meetings are back. In effect, as far as us, it's the same. We do have vacancies. We have a department that takes intakes that helps families with the process. The only thing that has changed as far as update is that Care Design, we have a position called Regional Team Leader. They're the ones that get the people that are newly enrolled, because we do recognize that newly enrolled people are very needy in the sense that they want services quick, and a care manager with a 44 caseload may not be able to provide that. So the first 3 months, the RTL is the one that helps them through the process of the IM, the life plan, obtaining services, so that those people don't feel like they're waiting longer to get that. And families are liking that, the fact that the services are getting through quickly. And after 3 months, to give them, some time, they are then assigned to a permanent care manager to that case.
I have to tell you that we have gotten, as I spoke to Henry Najib, he's been getting a lot of, first time I ever heard out of his mouth, I had to ask him, are you saying this correctly? Or you need to take, or something must be shocking. I had to ask him to repeat this. Care Design, you got almost 45% of compliments from families, not in Brooklyn, the 5 boroughs.
Awesome. Great to hear.
I'm guessing this has to, Ernie's still with you? That's one other question.
Yeah, Ernie is still our downstate care manager, assistant director. Yeah.
So we have to call him the general soon?
The what?
The general, we have to call him?
Oh, can you just put in the chat, make sure to put in for the intake?
Or Olga, if you can put that in as well.
I'd appreciate
or
both,
you,
whoever
matter.
does it. Just one question. What happens if, say, you get a couple of families who are known to OPWDD, and are they going to get that person calling them for 3 months?
Repeat that again. Sorry.
Well, you have say families just like transfer from one CCO to another. The families are already knowledgeable. Are they going to get that similar support too?
Yes, any new enrollee, we treat them equally, even if they're not services. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been.
Okay. Just want to make
Great.
sure, because everyone asked
Do
me.
you
Yes,
want
it's good.
the email for the intake, the Brooklyn intake?
Yes, I would like that on
Yeah.
Okay.
the chat,
I'll
please.
put it. This is not Olga or myself. We don't do intake. We're care
We
management.
know that.
Oh no, what I just said a second ago, Olga, if you can put that information on the chat as well, because now you have two of you guys. That's another way of working as a team.
Oh,
That's-
I have one more question from parents who have emailed me and texted me. All right,
Okay.
child already has had a psychological film within the last 3 years. Are you gonna make do they have to update? And this is for every CCO. Just leave the message on the chat. Yes or no, do they must update? Remember, because of COVID, you can't go in person.
For 3 years, yes.
That's fine?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll let the rest of them know too.
Yeah, because someone else mentioned it already.
I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
And some regards to everybody at Care Design.
And if Ernie ever likes to show up once in a blue moon, it'd be nice to see his face.
Tell me he has until April 12th to show up.
I would let them know that the Brooklyn region is asking for him.
Yeah,
but
even Rosa seconds my
Right,
motion.
right.
All of
Tell me
them.
until April 12th. And if he wants to know what that date means, tell him to contact me and I'll tell him.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Now let's talk with the man who's
Steve Williams.
who's not wearing his whatever that
access
accessible.
deeds badge. That's okay. But he's wearing the other color I like. Okay. Go ahead.
Go
Hi,
ahead,
folks.
Steve.
Hi, folks. My name is Stephen Williams. I represent the Accessible Dispatch Program. It's a program that connects the community to wheelchair accessible taxis all throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. And it's not just for people in wheelchairs. Anyone can use it. You can use it. I can use it. But it's really designed for people, like, for example, if you're traveling with someone who's in a wheelchair, or if you know someone who's in a wheelchair, this is a great program for them. They pay the same fare as a regular taxi cab, no extra cost. The driver is trained in wheelchair securement, so they're in really good hands. So if you have your grandmother or your aunt, you don't have to worry, because these people have been trained in wheelchair securement and how to enter and exit the vehicle with a wheelchair. Also, if you have if people with crutches and walkers and canes and scooters, this is also a great taxi cab for them as well. And like I said, they pay the same fare as a regular cab. They can get service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can access the service by calling our 24-hour call center, or you can download the app on your phone, which will allow you to book trips. And if you book the trip on your phone, you'll get like a GPS map, and it'll tell you the destination of, they tell you where your car is coming and how long. It's really great. And also you can book trips online via the computer on our website. So it's a great program. And, I know a lot of people are going to get their vaccinations and things of that nature. So this would be a great option for them, to people in wheelchairs, to go to vaccination centers. But it's wonderful for everything. You can do this for anything. Go to the mall, go to supermarket, doctor's appointments. So yeah, I'll definitely put some more information on the chat about this program. And if you have any events that are going on, let me know about it. I'd love to attend. So.
And I can vouch, as well as Cliff, he has been attending the Family Support Fair. He has attended the Advisory Council Outreach, Super Outreach, and he also attended, I know Cliff is going to say something, he also been attending even their ACS fair as well, and I know he's been very popular. And Cliff, I know that I saw that face look. That face look is kind of suspicious looking. Do you have something to say? Because all of a sudden, when Steve Williams speaks, you pop out.
There he is.
Cliff, you have something to say?
Not really, but
It's okay.
How about Carly? How do you know she might have a question?
There. Yeah, me and Carly, we definitely have tabled a bunch of stuff, the family sport fairs, the super outreach. You guys have tabled here at ACS when we've done our citywide resource fair. We appreciate the support. We're about to start planning for our 2022 family resource fair. The thing is, and you've seen the executive floors that we use for the fair. Right now, it's a funny time with New York City that they're not really allowing us to use those rooms or make it available to the public. So we're not sure if we're going to be doing it in person or if we're gonna be doing a video conference resource fair like we did last year. So stay tuned. We'll keep coming to your events and letting you know what's going on with New York City. I'm hoping some of the people who are on this video conference will reach out, because we're all about strengthening our relationships with the community and our provider, our provider network. So reach out and we'll keep in touch as well.
Does anyone have any questions between Steve Williams? Steve, can you just send us the information? I muted you because the echo's coming in again. So if anyone has any questions, because Steve's program, it does help, in case your accessory vehicle does not come, you can always call them and you can always get your reference number, the authorization number, and you might have to pay, yes, but you do get reimbursed back, but minus $2.75. It does help because Steve Williams is accessible dispatch, does help people not to be stranded in any of the 5 boroughs. So please use them as your arsenal weaponry. And CCOs who are there, please make sure you do so. Use them as an arsenal weaponry.
Yes, whatever help you can get. Good to see you, and thank you, Steve.
And Cliff and Cardi, it's good to see you too. Also,
we thank you. Anybody else has any other announcements?
Jen, who's also on the screen, do you have an? Dolores, go ahead before I start. I don't hear
you.
I have a question. What you said,
who?
Chris, that if we use the accessible taxi because we couldn't, Access-a-Ride we couldn't get the Access-a-Ride. We want the accessible taxi, and we pay out of pocket. Do we have to get prior approval from Access-a-Ride?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You need prior approval.
All right, I'm going to explain this to you.
Yeah.
I have Access-a-Ride. You book your trip. You're able to get there, but you want to go home. If Access-a-Ride can't come or drops you, then you call Access-a-Ride saying, and especially people use wheelchairs and mobility devices, you call Access-a-Ride and they see that there is no car or anything available. Tell you, then you have to get an authorization number. Then you contact Access Dispatch for emergency. But just because it's not going to come today, no, you have to, this is something that you have to be signed up for Access-a-Ride.
And you have to be really careful.
And you have to be careful how you do it. And you have to understand they will take away $2.75 from there. But you will be charged the regular fare on where the taxi takes you. Because it's not, so it's like a regular yellow cab where it does, or green, where you'll see the meter read going up and up, okay? So that, and we will also, to make everything easy, we will have, besides Access Dispatch, we will also ask Access-a-Ride to make
that might have to be me. That might have to be
but
me,
we will ask,
because they're booked.
Right, I didn't say right now. Later in the, we'll get you the information.
Dolores, if you have any other questions, we can talk offline.
Okay.
Jen,
are you there?
And I'm going to click on ask you to unmute. Do you have an announcement?
I'm here. I don't have an announcement or anything. I'm just here absorbing all the information. Thank you.
But who are you from?
City Access, New York.
City Access. I'm always used to hearing announcements from you guys. So.
And that's Fran too?
Fran, I know.
Yes.
Okay, you guys have no announcements.
Franny, are you there? Do you have an announcement?
No announcements, and just, okay, but please put your, Fran and Jen, please put your contact information and the email and the email for access for your agency, because we want to make sure that if anyone needs services or help from your agency, they know where to go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you. You're welcome.
Fran from City Access, are you here?
Anything else?
Rose, everything's fine.
No, she just wanted,
Okay. All right, then I'm just going to submit Ms. Stevens from the Brooklyn Public Library.
Sammy,
do you have an announcement?
We are doing programs in person back again. I'm doing them at Red Hook our garden program at 4:30 on Mondays. And then my colleague Sam is doing the McGreenpoint on Thursdays from 4:30 to 5:15. Other than that, I'm really excited. The library is now officially fine free, which means anyone who maybe hasn't been coming in and using the resources because they were worried about fines that may have accrued previously on their account, those have all been waived. So everyone is free and welcome, and we really hope everyone comes back. Other than that, we've got our one-to-one help on Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month. So the next one is going to be November 7th. And that's about it for us.
Sammy, can you do me a favor? I asked Carrie to email me your trainings and events have been coming up because I've been getting a lot of people asking for them. Can you please email me that, please?
Will do.
Yeah, because I want to make sure I have it on the website by Friday the latest so I can get everyone not having a panic attacks.
Yeah, I'll get it to you.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question for her from the library end? Okay. Thank you, Sam. And tell Carrie I send her regards.
Yes, we send our regards, all of us.
She says hi to everyone and she's sorry that she couldn't make it.
We understand.
Well, at least you know she brought someone else. That's even good.
That's fine.
That's fine. We understand. Carrie has to deal with the whole borough of Brooklyn in her bare hands.
Yep.
I think Rose will agree with me on that one. Yeah. Okay. Christina, and I can't say her last name, was Dlius. Do you have an announcement?
Christy. Delise. Okay.
Christina, do you have an announcement? Okay, I cannot hear you, so I'm guessing your microphone's not. Sorry.
Yeah, she put in the chat, her mic is not working. So if she have an announcement, she could put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Fran, do you have an announcement?
No, just my usual. I found this meeting interesting. Thank you. We do depend right now with the pandemic on the care managers that we work with because they know our program to refer individuals. And the care managers, they're a very, very important part of all of this. They know their individuals that they're working with, so we do depend on them to refer individuals to us. We do have openings in our day hab without walls in Brooklyn and Staten Island. We're currently working very diligently in our vocation programs. We have been getting individuals hired by Marshalls, Home Goods. They're at Staples job fairs today. So there are jobs out there for our individuals. So I just wanted to say thank you. And if you have any referrals, please give us a call and I'll put our information in the chat.
Thank you very much.
And Fran, always make sure if you have service openings or anything coming up, please email to the advisory email so we can add it to the website.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Rose, everyone did their announcement. I have my announcement as the final person. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, you could go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Everyone has been asking me this question for almost now 2 weeks. I want to make this clear. I want to thank a lot of the agencies who are here, who left already. Thank you. Please remind yourselves also that the Omni reduced fare training is still available. You must email Sarah Barrett, which I'm putting it in the next few minutes. So therefore, this is also for all CCOs too, because your staffs and your individuals need to know this. So it makes it easier and safer. There are a lot of new easy options that are coming out. There is a lot of confusion that are coming out. And I really want to make this clear for the record. I will be saying this at the general meeting because we need to be more serious and more open mind on this. And I have to say open mind for a lot of reasons because a lot of people are confused. The Omni card that you see at stores are not the reduced fare card. The reduced fare card is not even activated yet to anyone. So I want to make that clear. The only way the Omni Reduced Care is working is because it's being tested right now. And I know because I have the test card in my hand here. Well, as Debbie's doing it, and 60 people are doing it in all the boroughs. The next step will be Long Island, Metro North, and yes, Accessori will be doing it. I don't have those information, and I don't want to mention it more now because that will be another time. That's why there's a training for that to get everyone to process this. And just to remind everyone, those cards you see in the store, yes, they're a $5 charge. You don't have to get it there. You can use your phone as the full fare as well. Or you can wait to where the new machines at train stations are activated and ready to go. And more information will be available also. And I remind you to answer Cliff's comment earlier as well as everyone. Please go on to my MTA website. If you have it on your phone, please put the comment complaint on there. That's what it's there for. And that's where you can get your complaints. So say like there's a bus problem, get the vehicle number, the stop, the time, and a short sentence saying what he did.
He or she
He
did.
or she did. Same way on the station, a driver, a conductor, accessory driver. And that is information is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you have accessory complaint, you do not have to always call accessory. You can put it into that comment and complaint, and you have a reference number. So example, Ms. Sanchez, who's part of CCO, you are allowed, and let's make this clear to you, so this is, and Rose, this is for you too, has nothing to do with HIPAA law. If you know that family's having a problem, you can help them fill it out on the computer, and you can send them the reference number. You are allowed to keep that as record because that is part of a human rights law. You are allowed to have that reference number. And if you don't get a response, please send it to your elected officials or let it me know on my private email. Then I will investigate the problem. So please, let's make this very clear. And let's remind them, do not yell at a driver. You can be charged for 7 years in prison.
That means you cannot hit a driver. You can't.
Not throw anything.
Don't throw anything. Don't touch them. But if you feel they're being inappropriate,
Okay.
you have the right to complain, but don't touch them.
Don't touch them at all. And please, everyone, it is very important that the complaints are going in, but don't say you're going to do it the next day or 4 days later. It's a dead case. It has to be in by 24 hours. That's why there's a complaint questing. There's a request issue. Like Cliff has a problem with Long Island Railroad schedule. Put it into a quest. Put it in. You get a reference number. Please make sure you guys do that. And I'm being dead serious because a lot of you have sent complaints that are over 2 months. That's not the way we do that. The complaint is dead. You lost the chance to do it. So I am just saying this clearly. Please put that in. And I'm going to put it into the chat right now. Rose, that's my announcement, unless someone has a question.
All right. Thank you, Chris. So it's actually 12 o'clock. We are 2 minutes over. I just want to thank everyone for being on this call. I felt like today was a very, very productive meeting. We have a pretty great discussions, and I would like to keep it going, right? So as I said earlier on the call, we'll be having this meeting every second Wednesdays of the month. And I believe the following Wednesday is going to be November 10th, same time, same link. We'll be getting the email from Chris with the links, and we'll be meeting again November 10th. Hopefully the topic will be what we discussed today. We'll reach out to someone from the DDRO, see if we can get some updates.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It is November 10th.
Okay, great.
Actually, I have it on the screen. I'll just shrink it here.
But we do, please, Rose, I'm so glad we were able to do this
There you
together.
go.
Please, everybody, reach out to us by email and let us know what topics you need for us to discuss. Because this way, Rose and I can work together to get the right speakers and help everybody. Because we want everyone to get the right help and services they need.
And also to let you know that, so you guys can know the topic ahead of time, so you know it can be part of the conversation. And if you have any additional topics, please, my email was in the chat, so send them over to us, and we'll be happy to add them on.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
And before everyone goes, please click on the right clicker where the 3 dots are. Go into your chat box. There, next to everyone, there is a little button over there that says more. Click on it and save the chat. So everyone's announcements are there. It means once you disconnect, you'll get that chatting loading up, and then you have everyone's information, including announcements.
Okay.
So please make sure you do that.
All right.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks
Thank you,
everyone for being
Rose.
on the call.
You're
Enjoy the
welcome.
rest of your week.
You
Cliff and
too.
Carly, thanks again. We'll see you soon.
See everybody soon.
See
All right.
everyone.
Soon.
See everyone
Bye,
at,
everyone.
at the joint meeting. Have a great day,
Hey.
everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.